Kids in Tisha B'Av, in most cases, people just see them as in the way. And the question is, how do we really get our kids into at least feeling the mood of Tisha B'Av without either getting scared, puzzled? What's supposed to be going on? So I want to share with you a story from my childhood. I believe I was in 4th grade in good old Torah Emes before it became Torah Emes Kamenetz. This was the tkufa when Rav Aaron Kotler, Zichrono Livracha, was really not well. We had regular Tehillim rallies. We were coming into the shul of the yeshiva, the Beis Medrash. It was called Yeshiva Elementary School. And we were saying Tehillim one after day after day after day. And it was nifter. The person who actually was meant to address the entire student body, to inform them of Rav Aaron's P'tira, was the assistant principal, Rabbi Arnold Wolf. He got up there and he tried to speak and he just broke down crying. And he tried to say another few words and he couldn't. He just cried and cried and then walked off the stage. What we call the English principal of the school was Dr. Morris Mendel, a well-known psychologist. So this all took place, I believe it was before Mincha. After Mincha, Dr. Mendel gets up and tries to explain to these poor traumatized children what just happened. I have to tell you, it was totally unnecessary. We got the message. We got the message we were supposed to get. We didn't need any words. We saw the adult that we looked up to and feared. We saw this person that was, to us, the big gibor. We saw him break down crying. We knew this was a tragic loss for the Jewish people. We didn't need any explanations. I'll tell you, if you feel something strongly, the kids pick up on it. If you feel something for real, kids pick up on it. Now, obviously, it is very difficult for a child to see a parent out of control. Halavai, that should be an issue in Tisha B'Av. Unfortunately, I would say that most of us don't struggle with keeping our composure on Tisha B'Av because we're just totally broken because of the Churban. Hopefully, there's a feeling of sadness. There's a feeling of missing what Klal Yisrael could be, of missing Hashem. And that's really the point. It's the Hester Panim. It's the feeling of Hester Panim. In the days of the Beis HaMikdash, things were clear. There were open nisim. There were open miracles everywhere. You walk into the Beis HaMikdash. There were Nevi'im walking the streets. Not just the Nevi'im who wrote the Sifrei Nevuah. There were Nevi'im all over the place. There were Shoftim and Shotrim and Nazirim, the way Rabbi Yehuda Halevi describes it. Chazal tell us, the Shiras Halavim. Shiras Halavim. A person didn't go to sleep in Yerushalayim without being about Tshuva Gemura from the Shiras Halavim. Today, Tzadik Varalo, Rosh V'Tova, we have so many kashas. Emunah is Emunah. Emunah's Chavalelis. Emunah means we believe, we trust on the basis of all the stories we heard. But Hashem's in hiding. So we're in pain. And it's sad. And if you feel the pain and you feel sad and your kids see it, they've learned a lot. They've learned a lot. Telling them the morbid stories. I don't know. It depends on the kid. It depends what he's made of. They are sorry, Harugi Malchus. I don't know, I was a little sensitive kid. Listening to it, it was scary. It was scary. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest. But I'll tell you, the years that I wasn't in camp, when I grew up in a shtivel and I saw Holocaust survivors, and they did krechts over the kinnis. They did carry with them the pain of almost 2,000 years of goals. I learned a lot from them. You want to teach your kids about Tisha B'Av? It calls for his bindiness on your own of what we're missing. If you're sad, you feel the pain, it'll be on your face. And that does a lot more than anything you can possibly tell them. Kinnis, the kinnis, they're written very poetically. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi in the Kuzari writes that the purpose of poetry, of shira, is to be able to express by the tone what the words themselves don't carry. And that's really what the kinnis are really supposed to be doing. We have a hard time knowing what the words mean. We have a hard time relating to the poetry. I think what has to do it for us is the feelings, the krechts. I think that's where our kids are going to pick it up. I think it's important on Tisha B'Av, and at other times also, to really think about the Golus Hashchina, the Golus of Klal Yisrael, the Hester Panim, the state of Klal Yisrael. You can talk about it too, but it's your feelings, your tone, your sincerity. That's what's going to do it. That's really what's going to do it. I want to add one thing because there's a certain part of what people do on Tisha B'Av that I think is very important. I know people go for Holocaust stories. Certainly before the days of the internet where you can spend the whole Tisha B'Av afternoon listening to beautiful drashes from really great people. But people used to read Holocaust stories. I always suggest for people, there's a book you ought to read and tell your kids some of the stories. There's a book called Sparks of Glory. It's a translation from the Hebrew one. Written by a chashuv person that went around the camps just after liberation when Jews had nowhere to go. What he collected were not stories of torture, not the morbid stuff. What he collected was stories of Mesiras Nefesh, Jewish greatness and pride in all of the suffering. And that's what your kids have to know. Your kids have to grow up with, Shebachol Dor V'Dor Undim Aleinu L'Chalei Seinu. And we say that on Pesach, holding a cup of wine, b'simcha. We don't even say it, the meaning is to sing it. We're proud. We're proud. The pride of knowing that even though we're persecuted and we're hated, we know what's right. And at the end of the day, Hashem is going to make the Jewish nation continue. Ad bias koel tzedek. Your kids have to feel that strength, that pride. I believe it's the last story in that book. If not, it's one of the last ones. And it talks about this kid who's leaving his father. The kid has been sent into the forest to hide. The father knew he was not going to survive, but he told the kid that he will. And he tells his child, I'm calling you Chaim. I'm calling you life. The Nazis, they've got their whole army, their sophisticated army. They're searching wherever they can to find one last Jew. What does that say about us? Oh, we must be so important to the world. We must be so chashuv. They've got to make sure there isn't a single one of us left. They know what one Jew can do. So he tells his Chaim, hold on to that possession. You've got the most prized possession on earth. You're a Yid. Our kids have to know. Every Yid has greatness Every Yid is bringing something to this world that no one but a Yid can. We're Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. We were at Maimon Har Sinai. We have neshamas that are Yiddish neshamas. We can have a relationship with Hashem like no one can unless they're a Yid. Your kids have to grow up with that pride. Give them that. Especially on Tisha B'Av. Especially on Tisha B'Av. You'll have proud kids. Mirza Hashem, we should be zeicha. That all of our kids should have that pride and be able to go and welcome Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mehira v'yameinu.